I solved Elon's execution problem. Elon Musk is the most successful serial future borrower in history. Tesla sells full self-driving that doesn't exist. SpaceX sells Mars missions decades out. Neuralink sells brain interfaces years away. The Boring Company sold flamethrowers before it built tunnels. And the entire model works because he's perfected narrative momentum over delivery timelines. By the end of this video, you'll keep understanding why every Elon company operates by borrowing from its own future, why the promises keep expanding faster than the delivery, and why this works until it suddenly doesn't. This isn't about Elon specifically. He's just the most visible example of someone who turned future promises into present capital at civilizational scale. And the mechanism is structural. Here's how Elon's model works. Make a promise about the future, not next quarter, not next 5 years, 5 years out, 10 years out. Full self-driving next year, Mars colony by 2030, neural interface for consumer use soon, Hyperloop revolutionizes transportation. The promise generates media attention, free marketing, investor capital, funds current operations, customers pre-order, cash flow today, talent recruitment. People want to work on the future. All of this happens based on something that doesn't exist yet. Then, when the timeline arrives and the promise isn't delivered, you don't apologize. You don't refund. You don't admit failure. You announce the next future promise, one that's even bigger, further out, more ambitious. Full self-driving delayed. But now we're working on robo-taxis. Mars colony timeline pushed. But now we're building Starship. Neural interface delayed. But the potential is even bigger than what we thought. The new promise generates new attention, new capital, new momentum, and everyone forgets you didn't deliver on the last promise because they're excited about the new promise. Here's what this enables structurally. Every Elon company operates with negative working capital. They collect money today for products they'll deliver tomorrow. Tesla. You pay for self-driving in 2024. They promise delivery soon. You're still waiting, but they already have your money. And they use it to fund operations, R&D, expansion. SpaceX. Contracts for future launches. Funding rounds based on future Mars missions. Government contracts for capabilities that don't exist yet. The companies survive not on current product delivery, but on continuous capital raises based on future promises. Traditional business model: build product, sell product, use revenue to build the next product. Elon's model: promise future product, raise capital, use capital to fund current operations. When delivery timeline arrives, promise bigger future product, raise more capital. The business never has to be profitable from current operations because it's consistently refinancing itself through future promises. This works as long as investors believe the future promise is credible. New capital keeps flowing in. The narrative stays ahead of the delivery reality. Here's the pattern across all Elon's companies. 2014, full self-driving in 2 years. 2016, full self-driving next year. 2018, full self-driving definitely next year. 2020, full self-driving feature complete. Just needs regulatory approval. 2022, full self-driving coming soon. 2024, full self-driving beta available, but still not actually full self-driving. 2026, still not delivered. Each year, the promise gets pushed out, but the promise also gets more ambitious. It's no longer just self-driving. Now it's robo-taxis getting passive income from users. The timeline expands. The promise expands faster. This keeps the narrative alive because you're not just waiting for the old promise. You're waiting for an even better version of the promise. And this works on investors, customers, and employees simultaneously. Investors, yes, the timeline slipped, but the opportunity is actually bigger now. Customers, I've been waiting on 5 years for full self driving, but when it arrives, it'll be even better than what they were originally promised. Employees, yes, we're behind schedule, but we're building something more important than what we thought. Everyone accepts the delay because the future promise keeps getting upgraded. Here's Elon's defense mechanism when they don't deliver: blame external factors, usually regulators. Full self driving would be ready, but regulators are slow. We could go to Mars sooner, but government bureaucracy. Neuralink could be faster, but FDA approval takes time. This does two things. First, it removes responsibility. It's not that Elon overpromised or couldn't deliver. It's that external forces prevented delivery. Second, it preserves the narrative that the technology is ready. The only thing stopping it is regulatory capture, government inefficiency, legacy systems. This keeps investor confidence high because the problem isn't execution, it's just red tape. And red tape eventually gets cut. So the timeline pushes out, but the belief in eventual delivery stays intact. And when regulators actually do approve something, it validates the narrative. See, we were ready all along. We were just waiting on them. Here's what's actually happening. Elon has built multiple companies that operate on the same principle: borrow credibility from the future to fund operations in the present. This works because the promises are big enough to justify current valuations. The timelines are far enough out that delays don't kill credibility immediately. The progress is real enough to maintain belief. Rockets do launch, cars do drive. The narrative keeps expanding faster than delivery reality. But there's a structural constraint. Eventually, you run out of bigger promises. Eventually, the delays accumulate into credibility damage. Eventually, customers who paid for features in 2016 that still don't work in 2026 get angry enough to matter. And when that happens, the entire model depends on having achieved enough actual success that the past delivery validates future promises. Tesla works because electric cars actually existed and actually sell, even if full self driving doesn't work. SpaceX works because rockets actually land and actually reuse, even if Mars missions are decades away. The model only works if you deliver enough to maintain credibility for the next promise. And Elon has threaded the needle better than anyone, but it's still threading a needle. So what's the issue? The model works at civilizational scale. Elon has created more value through future promises than most people create through actual delivery. The electric car revolution happened because Tesla promised it into existence, even if they were overpromised on timelines. The private space race happened because SpaceX promised Mars, even if Mars is still decades away. But this model creates massive expectation debt. Every customer who paid in full self-driving and doesn't have it yet, every timeline that slipped, every promise that got upgraded instead of delivered, that debt compounds. And eventually it gets paid through delivery or it collapses trust. You can't borrow from future forever without eventually delivering something close to what you promised. Elon's bet is that he delivers enough breakthrough technology to validate the borrowing, and so far he has. But the model itself is structurally dependent on continuous forward momentum. The moment the promises stop seeming credible, the capital stops flowing, and the companies can't operate without that capital. It's not fraud. It's not even dishonesty. It's strategic future borrowing at a scale nobody else has attempted, and it works until the future arrives and the bill comes due. Most people can't operate this way. They don't have the credibility, the track record, or the narrative control. But at least now you understand why Elon keeps announcing bigger plans right when old plans were supposed to deliver. It's not distraction. It's not pivoting. It's just the business model. And it requires the next promise to always be bigger than the last delivery.